very much for coming to join me in the office.
Yeah,
This is not bad, is it? This is E63. In fact, this is the E63S. So we've got a 5.5 litre twin turbo V8 on the bonnet, and about 585 brake horsepower available at the rear wheels. So although the car does bear a passing resemblance to a Stuttgart taxi, there is a little bit more to it than meets the eye. Let's go and find out what it can do. So is this your first time here, gentlemen?
It's mine. Yeah, no, we've been here a few times.
Okay. Out on track before?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
well...
I drove the C63 Estate.
Okay, cool.
You drove... What did you drive?
I drove the CLS 63.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, you've got the older, slurse driver on the track here today. Happily, the car's pretty good, so we should be able to keep up. It'll be fine.
Okay.
And we're going to start off by checking out the brakes on the car actually work. It is always nice to know once we get out onto the handling circuit that we can slow down for corners. So we'll kick things off with a high-speed emergency stop. You can relax for a moment or two though, this isn't it. Just on the way to it, drive the car normally, drives like a normal car, it's all pretty calm and placid up until now, but things are about to change. No accident, the piece of real estate to our right here is reminiscent of a runway, because once upon a time that is exactly what it was. Speaking of runways, time for takeoff. Or it will be in a moment. So the flashing brake lights there, that's not the driver pumping the pedal. Hit the brakes hard enough, the brakes start flashing, the lights start flashing to whatever behind you what's going on. Once he's stationary, the hazards have come on, and when he moves away again, they self-cancel. Standard fit on all Mercedes now.
So, the standard... I know when it brakes hard, it flashes the brake lights.
Yeah.
And then once you stop, does it automatically put the hazards on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sweet.
Right, I think we've waited long enough. Ready for this? Here we go. I'd say the brakes are working.
I think they're working.
If you were paying attention there, you'll have seen I did it hands-free.
Yeah,
Of course, I'm not recommending that as a technique for driving on road necessarily, but it does show you how stable the car stays. Of course, you know, modern cars have got a lot of technology supporting the brakes. This one's no exception. ABS had a bit of a part to play there. Stability under braking is one of its jobs. Now I'll show you what ABS is really for, though. So as we turn back onto the runway, if you cast your eyes back down towards the far end again, you'll observe that lane 2 is blocked by a pair of orange and white cones about 80 metres downrange.
Yeah, I see.
We call them the children. Keep your eyes on the kids. Again, we've just got to wait for our friend to leave at the other end there. Last thing we're going to be doing this afternoon is playing AMG tag. It's very expensive. So just as you think we're about to go piling into them, we can actually brake and steer around them. And it's a useful way of thinking of ABS ability to brake and steer.
So it does cut down on the repair costs, but I'm sure it must chew on the tyres a bit. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't do the tyres that much damage, because you never really... The tyres may be under-rotating a bit, but nothing's ever locking up, so it's not that much of an issue. Okay, the system actually works on ice. Now, we don't have any of the real stuff, but we've got obviously these two surfaces that simulate it. Let's go and have a play on those now. I'm not going to do this at anything like the same speed. It can take up to 10 times longer to stop on ice compared to tarmac. So if we do this at sort of 60s where we're going the other way, we're likely to end up in the showroom, quite possibly on the first floor. There's a good ramp at the other end there, and I doubt they want to see us. So we'll do this at a more sedate 40. So we hit the brakes here, and although the car doesn't particularly want to slow down, look, I can still change direction pretty much at will. TC tag 14, can you notify facilities the filters on the straight line wet gripping cleaning again? Okay, so a little bit about ABS there. Another system we got on the car is ESP, Electronic Stability Program. Now you can't stop a car from skidding, that's physically impossible, but you can modify skids to make them unmanageable by the driver, and that's basically the system's job. Now you two fellas who have done the experience before already know how easy it is to make these cars oversteer, and the fella in the CLS over the other side there has just demonstrated the point.
Yeah.
What most people don't appreciate though is that this powerful rear-wheel drive car will understeer as easily as it oversteers. If we arrive at a corner too fast and I try and turn in, it'll be the front of the car that breaks free, not the back. So the vibration you can hear and feel there is actually understeer. But it oversteers pretty easy as well. Coming out of the corner, if I'm on the throttle too sharp, we'll get a bit of a twitch, and ESP intervenes. ESP basically chops the power at the rear wheels to stop the wheel spin and brakes that wheel there, so it's slowing the outside of the car down so I don't have to do too much work.
Yeah.
On the AMGs though, we've got 3-stage ESP. Now that's what it feels like when it's in full safe mode. If we just pop it briefly into mildly amusing mode now, so it's not actually off, it just won't intervene as early and it won't do as much, we get a slightly different outcome this time. So there's a little more input from me, but it's still a clear intervention from the car to get straight.
So is that the mildly amusing mode?
That's mildly amusing.
Okay.
Now I'm going to put it into rock and roll.
Rock and roll, that's the one I want.
And this time hit the gas. And life gets way more exciting than it might need to be on the road. And that's why we say to people, do not switch that system off on road unless you really know what you're doing, and even then you might want to think twice about that.
Yeah.
Okay, now we will come back and have another play on here later on, but let's pop out onto the handling circuits and just see what happens out there. Interesting driving conditions we've had today. The track has been very greasy because it's just been damp. It's starting to dry out now, a little bit inconsistent in places. Just so you know, it's a handling circuit, not a racetrack, not really about out and out speed so much as keeping the car moving as we go through loads and loads of tight corners. There's only one place on the whole circuit where we will be going in a straight line for more than a second at a time, so it's busy for me. You all therefore get to sit back and enjoy the ride, but do mind your heads on the sides of the car. There may be some abrupt direction changes through corners as we pick the pace up. Okay, well, you guys who've been out here before may remember the first thing we've got to do is get you looking in the right places. Drivers naturally tend to look down into corners, and what this means, particularly when you come to a sharp one like the one we're coming up to now, is a driver will typically look part way through the corner, steer there, look further, steer there, and then look to the exit and steer there. So it could take 2 or even 3 steering inputs to get the car on course. Now I've exaggerated that a bit just so you could feel what it did. If I look up through the corner where I want the car to go, I can reduce my steering inputs to 2 per corner. So this time, rather than looking at the corner, I'm looking through it over there, and we're going to turn the car in and then straighten again. This is the sharpest corner on the track. If I look through the side window again, we can just turn in and straighten. And same coming back the other way. Turn in and straighten. Can you all feel how much more stable and smooth that is?
Yeah.
Okay. Now another thing that will happen is if you don't look through the corner properly is you're apt to misjudge your braking, and we'll use the first hairpin to illustrate this one again. So we've clocked it's a corner on approach, so we've done a little bit of slowing down. We then turn in halfway through. Now we discover it's a hairpin and have to brake again. Did you all feel what that did to the car? You really don't want to be shifting weight around like that in the middle of the corner. So we need to get all the braking done before we turn, keep the car balanced and stable mid-bend, and then accelerate out. And if we start to do this systematically, we can get a lot more out of the car. So we're braking on approach, balancing through, powering out. Brakes, balance, listen to the engine note mid-bend, power. Brakes, balance, power. Brakes, balance, power, brakes, balance, still balance, power. So that really is the holy trinity of car control going through corners. So there's a little bit about the technique. Let's go back to the car again. We've basically got the car, and let's go down to Sainsbury's mode at the moment. So the suspension is in comfort mode, and the gearbox is in the same mode too. So we'll do one more corner with the suspension in comfort mode. So here we're getting a fair amount of body roll through the corner. Pop it into Sport Plus. Now the car's going to sit a lot flatter on the surface. Holds the car more upright, keeps more rubber in contact with the road, and therefore gives you more grip and changes the way the car handles. The gearbox, as I said, also in comfort mode. So we've got quite a soft, seamless shift as it stands, and it's upshifting as early as it can the whole time. It's trying to keep the revs as low as possible to save fuel and reduce emissions. I'm always quite impressed when I keep a straight face when I say that in this car. I'm going to pop it into sport mode now. So it's immediately dropped to cog. It now holds the car in lower gear for longer, shortens the shift time, sharpens throttle response. So for the driver who's minded to inject an element and giddy up into their driving style, the car's going to cooperate a little bit more. Actually, we can sharpen the gearbox up a little bit more. If I put it into Sport Plus mode, it's an even shorter, sharper shift and further enhanced throttle response too. From the driving seat, it feels as if you've got more horsepower. Actually, there are no more horses. We're just allowing the ones that we have to gallop more freely. But we're still in an automatic mode, so this means it will up or downshift just because it's the right rev range that to happen. Might not be where I want the shift to happen. One more turn puts it into manual. I'm now changing using the paddles on the steering wheel, but it will only change when I tell it to. So basically every single turn of that wheel gives me a little bit more control back. And the limiting factor is now ESP. Do you remember I said it had 3 stages? Well, we're still in that full safe mode, and the problem with this is that it won't let me get the power down cleanly coming out of the corners. If the car senses we're starting to lose grip, it actually holds the power back to stop that from happening. I need a little bit of traction to allow the rubber to bite into the tarmac and drive this out of the corner. So I pop it into sport mode, and this is the thing that really does, this is the game changer. Feel the back of the car moving around. Tyre tone comes up. We're not really losing grip. You can just hear the tyres working now. The tyres really have got their work cut out for them at this stage. On a drying track, as I say, you've got inconsistent grip. The tyres are never quite sure what they're doing. But as you know, all our rubber is supplied to us by Continental, and I'm sure you'll agree it does a pretty good job of keeping nearly 2 tons of E-Class glued to the grey stuff. To any of the cars here to make them go better on track. They're all factory standard. You can walk onto the forecourt of any Mercedes dealer in the land to buy any of the cars you can see being driven here today. So there we go, there's a little bit about the car's power and agility. And of course we have been talking about those systems that are there on the car to help drivers retain or maybe regain control when things are getting out of hand. But control always remains vested in the driver, and it would be remiss of us not to show you a little bit about driver control as part of this. So just to finish off, in fact, the straight, let's have a look at the straight first, see if we can get the cars to go sideways on there. A little bit inconsistent, but we'll give it a go. Go into this quite late. So yeah, you can drive 2 tons of E-Class sideways on ice. And with that, we'll give you a brief intro to the gentle art of drifting. How did you two fellas do this when you had a go?
Not too bad. I did a full 360 pirouette.
Okay.
Didn't manage to keep it sideways. So
Okay. Well, that's the
a bit
thing.
of drifting as well.
Yeah, I did drift.
So to drift, what we're doing is balancing the back of the car against the front steering versus power. Over acceleration, of course, causes the back of the car to step out into oversteer. Steering into the skid is just keeping the whole car going the same way. We're actually steering on power, of course. Revs determine the angle the car points and hence the direction it takes. The vibration you can hear and feel is the skid. On normal tarmac, the tyres would be shrieking away. On this surface, you get this rumble. Theoretically, I should just be able to set the revs and drift on here. In practice, again, the surface is a little bit inconsistent, so there are some adjustments to be made. Right. Well, you mentioned something about a 360.
Yeah.
Anything you can do, so I can do better. So let's. It's almost as if I'd done it before, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of us actually broke the world drift record here over 4 years ago now, and that was on the outer
Joe
circle.
was saying earlier,
Yeah.
record was done,
Yeah, that was done on dry tarmac. He went 2,308 metres before one of the tyres decided enough was enough. We're drifting at 14 miles an hour on here today. To achieve the record, he had to keep the car going for 14 laps at between 55 and 60 miles an hour.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was an incredible bit of car control. It's still up on YouTube and actually still in the Guinness Book of Records, because although a couple of other people have broken it since, they didn't pay the Guinness Book of Records their fee, so officially the record still resides here. And there we go, fellas. That little flourish, I'm sorry to report, does bring us to the end of the Magic Carpet ride. If you enjoyed that, my name's Piers. If you didn't, it's Barry. Now, I did make mention of a Stuttgart taxi on the way out. If you ever go there, fine city, well worth the trip. If you've not made it yet, you find yourself sitting in an E-Class on the way from the airport and your driver starts doing any of that stuff, get out and walk. He's unlikely to have been through the same training that I have. Okay, gentlemen, if you'd like to bail out, if you wanted to look at the recording we made of that, it'll be available in the departure lounge in about 10 minutes' time for you to look at.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, good to meet you.
Thanks,
Thanks for
Piers.
coming on. My
Thank you very
pleasure.
much.
Cheerio. Good to meet
Cheers,
you.
thanks.
Bye now.
Hey, how was that?